Okay, good evening everybody. Tonight on the bench for no reason at all is a Vox Nitrain 15 watt. This is the second generation with the bright channel and the girth channel, which the girth channel, holy cow, the girth channel roars on this little thing. What a little mean box of rock this is. The official model number on this is NT15H-G2, and I have a speaker cabinet for it, and it works fine. I plug into the 16 ohm there and ready to rock. Foot switch, FX send and return, mains input. They used very British literature on this, despite the fact that this was not made in Britain. I have a feeling Tony Bruno had something to do with the design of this. But anyway, there's not a thing wrong with it. It works great. I just finished rehearsing with it, and oh my gosh, it just sounds like $1,000,000. If you're looking for a miniaturized little box of rock that, you know, roars like a full stack, but is just a little single 12-inch speaker, these things are cool. So anyway, we're going to pop it apart just to look at how it's constructed and decide what we want to do to this in the future. And I think the answer is
so we've taken the screws out,
lift the lid. I think it's interesting. There's a plate in here that doesn't really seem to serve any purpose except go above these tubes. So my guess is this is probably one of those cover your butt. This has been in the shop a little while. There's a little dust. I'll wipe that down. But I think that's a cover your butt function. If these tubes are warming up the top cover, it'll either A, maybe make the paint bubble, or B, some joker will put his hand down here and go, oh my gosh, that's too hot, I'm on fire, I burned my hand. Lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit. So I'm guessing that's one of the two reasons. Sorry about hitting the camera there. All the tubes have retainers on them. These are a spring-loaded retainer. We have 12AX7B, 12AX7B, 12AX7B. These are it appears to be the classic Shuguang Special, aka Sino, the generic Chinese tube. Let's pull one out and double check. I don't see much difference between these. I've seen them with red labels and seen them with other labels. This one has the little side clamp, but that's weird. This one has two clamps on it. This one has one on this side and one on that side. So this one's a little different than the usual China tube. It actually does sound okay, so I'm not desperate to go snag more tubes. I would consider it. It's something I do consider. I like to roll tubes and play around and find what's great. But right out of the gate, this amp sounds great, and the Vox AC15 sounded great with its stock tubes. The TB18, I actually did retube that with some vintage tubes, primarily because I had them and I wanted to experiment. Nothing had to be ordered there. And then our main power tube is an EL84 China tube. This is stock Shuguang or Sino type, typical tube. Nothing outstanding about it. As far as EL84s or 6BQ5s go, JJ was kind of the go-to generic one that was affordable to everybody. That's a possibility, or we could do something like a Tungsol, the current Russian production Tungsols. Yeah. So, wait, have I got these transformers backwards? I do. This one here, over here, that's the power transformer, and then the output transformers on this side. So that's an unusually beefy power transformer for a 15 watt, or an unusually beefy output transformer for 15 watts. So that might explain why this thing roars as much as it does. It doesn't have any really, it doesn't get jammed up in the works. So we're hearing on the girth channel, we're probably hearing lots of preamp distortion, which is the pretty one. The AC15C1, the current one, only has two preamp tubes, and then you get to your power tubes. So this one has an extra stage. I'm sure that's used when you flip to the girth channel. It gives you some extra gain and really makes it rock out. So we'll take the bottom off and take a look under there. Okay, so I just opened the bottom here, and I can tell you what I see right out of the gate. There is a little cooling fan in here to try to cool the components in here. I guess they don't want this to turn into some of the amps that Fender has produced where there wasn't adequate cooling, and without adequate cooling then there isn't adequate reliability. Little pots, let's just take a look around at those. We'll take the camera handheld here and have a look around. Well, for starters, if we start at the main plug and look in, we've got some stuff here in shrink wrap. And without cutting that shrink wrap off, I'm only going to guess what it is. That's probably maybe a thermistor used to prevent current inrush, high current inrush. The fuse is one of those where the fuse is in here, I think, right? Yeah, the fuse is in here. So it's already got a fuse, so we got this. I think that's to deal with the current inrush when you take them off the standby, which is always a good thing. For a little amp, you would expect, when we do these do-it-yourself projects, the capacitors we use are axial and generally larger, but we've got our capacitors here on the board. They're all well glued down. We've got a couple of the flame-proof ceramic resistors. I'm sure those are the ones that get a little bit warmer, to keep an eye on them. And we have little tiny pots. They feel good. They seem to work okay. Is that the... It looks like Delta. That symbol on them, it looks like Delta. It's either... It looks like a Delta logo. That would be Delta Electronics. But since it kind of looks like a triangle, that might supposed to be an A. If it's supposed to be an A, then they'd be alphas. But I think that's a Delta. Pretty sure that's a Delta. We've got some little micro switches there for the channel switching. So everything in here is pretty compact. It's not a terrible thing. How'd they do it soldering in the tubes? Not too bad. A little stingy on the solder, at least here and over there. They're a little stingy. No issues here, but that's something we'll look at in the future, if we have an issue. I like the way they mounted the tubes, though, where they're mounted in the springs and things. That really does prevent movement and stress on those socket points. So somebody was thinking. Now this big board right here, I can tell you what that big board is. That is the digital reverb. Vox has this digital reverb board that they put into the TB18, and it's one of the few digital reverb boards that I actually think sounds good. So, yep. Okay, so let's follow our mains here. We got our mains to the switch to our power transformer, and then we come in, we go through our diodes and little caps, filter caps, and then into the circuit. Okay. So our output transformer would be this puppy over here. So how is this stuff from the output transformer? Okay, those wires are snaked in over here. So the output transformer is down there, and they snake the wires in here for the various outputs. Dun dun dun, and that goes, yeah, these are the stuff that goes from the tubes into the output. Now, seeing that we have, let's see, they're just marked as red and brown and blue. Let's see, red, brown, blue. But do we have 3 or 4? And then the yellow goes to the power transformer. I'm trying to think here based on what comes off of that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that there's a published schematic for that. I'd love to look through it just to see, but I wanted to just take a look inside and see what the build quality is like. And I hear clicky relays in this. When I fire it up, I hear clicky relays. And I think that's what, yes, this little B star BP12, that is a relay There's another relay over here and another relay over here. So the channel switching and the effects loop switching and that kind of stuff is accomplished via relays. So that's fine. We have a little fuse in here. I think that's probably for the low voltage that powers the relay and the little reverb board. Because the main one here, that would be what would go to the tubes. So yeah, because this has LED lights, and LED lights would obviously be low voltage. The reverb board would be low voltage, maybe 5 or 6 volts or something like that. And we have right here, this is what appears to be a voltage regulator. And without bending it down to read it, I don't know what it is, but that appears to be a voltage regulator. And I guess I should answer the phone. Okay, we're back. That was not that interesting of a call. So let's just take a look real quick at the pots, because I'm curious. Okay, let's set this up a little bit so I'm not losing it. So the double pot for this is the master volume. The master volume is a double pot, and then everything else appears to be a single. So that being a double pot, that would probably be, you can look them up. It's a mod that people do to old Marshalls. It's called Alarmar, which will sort of bleed the noise down prior to hitting the power tubes, and I'm pretty sure that's probably what's in place here. As far as general components go, our main caps here are Fujicon, whatever that is, and they're high temperature. And let's see, what are our yellow caps over here? Those are Nover, N-O-V-E-R, N-U-V-E-R, N-O-V-E-R. Okay. That's what we have for electrolytic caps. Lots of little red drops and things. So, built as small as it has to be. Got a couple of Zener diodes in there. I'm not sure. It looks like Zener diodes. When I see Zener diodes in this kind of circuit, I'm thinking either it's for voltage regulation or it's part of a distortion circuit, but I don't think they cheated on this. I think I'm actually listening to tube overdrive when you're on like the girth channel. So, what does that do? Something between an elephant and a rhino. I know. Alright, that was a joke. So there you go. It's a quick tour inside of a Vox NT15H-G2. Why? Because I just wanted to know. And I'm going to put the lid back on it, wipe the dust off of it, screw the lid back on, and enjoy it. Because this is a great sounding little amplifier. There's a lot of people who have done some cool demos of it, but as far as my favorite thing to do with it, I like to plug a hot guitar like a Les Paul or an SG into it, put it on the girth channel, and just drive the gain, and it sounds like a little screaming Marshall. And it just absolutely rocks. It wants to do that nice high gain feedback, and it can do it all at a non-earplug volume level. So for that alone, it's super cool. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Okay, so anyway, that's just kind of like an overview of the Vox Nitrine and what's inside. It's not broken, and it's on the girth channel, and it's just ready to, do what our amplifiers do. So yeah, it's got a lot of gain. That doesn't not typical for what you think of when you think of a Vox, but cool amp. The spring retainers on the tubes, I think, will help protect the tubes plugged into the circuit board. And the only thing I could think that I would want to do with it is maybe roll some tubes in there and see what sounds better. But the stock tubes sound just fine. What the heck? There you go. Have a great day.